Hi, I'm Robbie Susan Chandler from RobbieSusanCardsandCrafts.com. I live in Quincy, Florida, right outside Tallahassee, Florida, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Please visit my website at www.RobbieSusanCardsandCrafts.com. I'm here today to share a project with you, so let's get crafting. Hello, and this is the card we're going to make today. It's called the Twisted Ribbon Technique, and once you figure it out, it's really pretty simple. So let's get started on this. First, let's look at the pieces we'll need. Your card base is thick basic white, 8.5 by 5.5, scored in the middle at 4 1/4. You'll need a piece of Calypso coral, and this piece is 5.5 by 2 7/8. You'll also need a piece of designer paper from the Delicate Desert pack, and this is a 3 by 3 square. And then you'll need a 5.5 by 2 1/8 piece, and this is one that you're going to score every 1/2 inch. If you can see it, let me turn this side. At every 1/2 inch, you're going to have a score line going down this piece. Okay, let's start with the base first. I used the dry brush stamp set and Calypso coral ink. Put it in my Stamparatus, put my card base in there, and put a scrap piece of paper in. I inked my stamp up and I stamped 3 times. I stamped over, stamped, and stamped. And then the 4th time I stamped on my paper, on my card base, and this was the look I got. And I had to stamp this many times to get a lighter color. I didn't really want a real dark background, so I was going for a lighter background, so I had to stamp off several times. And then I kept my card base in there and put in my sentiment and stamped my thinking of you. And I used the same ink, Calypso coral, but stamped 2 or 3 times to get it dark. So this is our card base. Now the inside, I also used some of the stamps from the this set, Desert Details. And this is what the inside of my card looks like. And the saying for this came from the Grassy Grove set. Sometimes you need to know that someone really cares. Now my greeting I used is from the Go-To Greetings, and I've used this one a lot. I really like the script on this one, the font. It's a really nice set. Okay, so now we have our card base done, so let's work on the twisted ribbon part. So let's go back to our piece that scored every 1/2 inch. And you're going to need 2 pieces of designer paper, preferably 2 pieces that match pretty well, and I used 1 strip from the dry brush metallic, and then I coordinated it with a strip from Texture Chic, and both of these strips are a 1/2 inch. Now I found it's also better to use a snail or a strip adhesive. The Tombow can get a little bit messy with this, so that's one hint on this. Okay, so looking at our piece, we want to start up in this corner, and I'm going to start with the longer piece. So and I like to use a little bit of scrap paper over here to, or you could use the silicone mat to put your adhesive on with. So I'm going to start with my first strip. Just run a piece of adhesive on there, and if you run off the edge, I find all you have to do is just kind of twist it over with your finger, and it'll get over there where you want it. Now you start right up here in this corner, and you want to match this corner, and you're coming down to the very first score line, and it should look like that. Now let me get this a little bit higher. So you want your corner squared off, That's why I'm pulling this up, so I can start it right on this corner. There we go. And of course it's sticking to my hand. Now we can trim all these off on the back. The main thing is just getting the location right. Okay, there we go. Alright, so you went from the corner to this side. Now flip it over, and when you trim this, you're going to get the exact angle that you're going to need to start your next strip. Let me go ahead and trim this side off. I got a little bit right there. Obviously I'm going to have to be cleaning my scissors when this is over to get all this adhesive off. Alright, so see where we cut it? We've got this angle. So let's put another strip here. And we're going to start at the next score line. Right here. And see how our angle fits right there, and we go down to that one. We cut that one off. And I'm not going to spare you, I'm going to spare you sitting here watching me do this all the way down. I have one I've already done, and it looks like this. So you see my even spacing all the way down. Alright, now that's the first strip. Now at the bottom you will have to put a little narrow piece, little tiny triangle piece, and trim it off to get that down there. Alright, now once you get the piece going down this way, I'm going to go back to this piece. You're going to start at the top, and here you're going to have another little triangle that this goes just right across to that piece. Let's stick this one on there. Alright, so this one goes here, right at that corner, and you want this to go right to the score line right there. Alright, then you'll have to turn it over, trim it off, trim the top off. Now these side ones, if you wanted to, you could just wait and trim. You could cut it close and just wait and trim your sides evenly when you finish the whole strip, and then they're all the same cut all the way down. So this is what the second strip would look like, and you just keep adding. You start at the top of this piece, go to the top of that one, the top of this one, to the top of that one, top, top. So when you finish, you have a piece that looks like this. So we started here, we started adding our strips, we ended up here. So the main thing to remember is matching the tops and going down. Alright, so once we get this piece done, then I took two 1/2 inch by 5.5 inch gold strips, and I adhered them to the back of this, and I found using the tape runner kept me from getting a bunch of glue all over my gold foil piece there. So you put one there and you put one on the other side, and you'll end up with a piece that looks like this. Now this piece, I put dimensionals on the back and adhered it to my Calypso coral piece. I wanted a little border on each side and had to be careful with how much gold I had showing on each side of my strip, so I would have enough for the coral to show. So there's that piece that goes on the front, and here's my front. So let's put this one on here, and this piece I just glued down with the Tombow, and you could use tape runner too, either one. I just kind of like having that little bit of wiggle room. We've got that here down. Okay, so the next step, this piece that I showed you, this 3x3 square, I stamped this flower from the Desert Details on this piece, and lightly sprinkled gold embossing powder on it. I didn't dump the whole thing on it, and I used regular Calypso coral ink. And like I said, I just lightly sprinkled, and I don't know if you can see the little bit of gold here, but it gave just a little bit of speckled gold on it without totally doing the whole thing gold, and I just wanted enough for it to sparkle. I also cut, and it has a matching die from the Desert Details die set. And also in that die set is this piece. And I cut this one from our gold shimmer paper. And I'm going to put it right here. I thought it made a good little background for this flower. Alrighty, there we go. Just dab a little bit here and there, enough to get it to stay in place, and you don't want it going above the top of your card. And then I mounted my flower below it. I felt like that flower did need a little bit of gold on it since there was so much gold on this card. It really added. Alright, I'm going to angle it a little bit so it doesn't cover up my sentiment. Right, there we go. Okay, so here we have our twisted ribbon technique, which you can see was not really that difficult. Just have your 1/2 inch strip cut, and you just go from score line and match up your designer paper as you go down, and then back to the inside. I hope you enjoyed watching this technique, and we'll give it a try. It's really not that hard. There are several other videos out there on YouTube where people have done the same technique, and you might take a look at theirs. There's also one where they use 3 pieces, and it's 3 twisted ribbon technique. But this one I just stuck with 2. So I hope you enjoyed watching this. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until we meet again, happy crafting!